All right, well, for an upcoming backpacking trip, I have purchased a new two-man tent. I have a 16-year-old REI half dome two-person tent, and it has a handful of issues with it. I bought it for $50 at a REI garage sale. It's done my family really good, doesn't owe me anything, but I decided it was time to try a new genre of tents, and so I just thought I would explain sort of what I did and why I did it, and see if there's any interest in this sort of thing. So I bought a non-freestanding tent from Gossamer Gear. This is called the Two, meaning a two-person shelter. It weighs so basically, as the whole thing comes, you get the tent, you get 2 bags, 1 for stakes, 1 for the tent, 3 extra guy lines, and 8 stakes. You only need 6 to set it up, but they give you 2 more. So the tent weighs 25 ounces, and then in addition to that, the stakes, 8 stakes, and these guy lines in that bag weigh 4 ounces. So all things considered, it's 29 ounces, but you don't have to take all that stuff with you. You can just get by with this. So you're in at about 27 ounces. Anyway, this is the very first non-freestanding tent that I've purchased. And a quick definition of freestanding versus non-freestanding. So basically, a freestanding tent can stand on its own freely without being staked out. So if you have, let's say, a simple rectangular tent and you have crisscross tent poles, that thing can stand on its own, no stakes in the ground. That's freestanding. This is a non-freestanding tent, which means if I take the stakes out, the thing falls over. The advantage to a non-freestanding tent is that you can have less poles and therefore less weight. The downside is that it always has to be staked, and it requires a slightly increased amount of skill to do. So because this is my very first non-freestanding tent, I decided to time how long it took me to set this up, having never set it up before, and actually there's no instructions included with it, although I did watch a video on how to set it up like 3 weeks ago when I purchased it. So this took me 5 minutes and 30 seconds. I did 1 or 2 things wrong, and even after seeing what I did wrong and correcting it, I still got it all done in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And you can, of course, leave some comments if you'd like about how it can be improved. My goal here is not to show how you should set it up perfectly, only to show that even if you've never done a non-freestanding tent before and you're intimidated or whatever, it really is not that complicated. So basically, you lay the tent on the ground, you stake out this, that, and that, so that it's a little bit taut. Then you pop in 2 trekking poles, and then you tie those out, and then you can go around and tighten it up. So a non-freestanding tents typically use, sometimes these are called trekking pole tents, because backpackers often hike with trekking poles. And then you get to, when you get to camp, basically when you're hiking, you don't need tent poles with you, but when you get to camp, you don't need trekking poles with you. And so trekking poles have basically double duty. So there is a grommet here at the bottom the trekking poles goes into, and then a little pocket, if you will, for that side, and then a little tie down here. The tent pole also leans out a little bit, so you get more headroom. And then this is, basically this tent is symmetrical. So what you see here is there's a mesh door, and then there's like the rainfly door. And so it's the same on both sides, and both can be tucked away with these toggles and loops. It's a very lightweight material, very fragile, and that's how they get it to be so lightweight. This is also what's called a single wall tent. So unlike having a tent body with a ton of mesh and then a rainfly that goes over it, that's a double wall tent. This is a single wall tent. And the advantages of a single wall tent primarily are weight. So instead of having 2 massive pieces of fabric, you only have 1. The downside is, on the one hand, versatility. So basically, I cannot take the rainfly off and sleep under the stars. The rainfly is always above me, and it's always blocking the view. The other downside of a single wall tent is that if it is very cold out here and warm in here, it will condensate right there. And if I touch something to that condensate then that water transfers to my hand. On a double wall tent, they normally keep the second wall of the rainfly like an inch away from the tent body. So if you touch the inside of the tent body with your hair, your sleeping bag or whatever, you're not touching where the condensation is. So generally speaking, Go ahead and disagree with me in the comments. Generally speaking, if all other factors are considered equal, a double wall tent is better for condensation and venting than a single wall tent. Of course, there are really good designed single wall tents and really crappy designed double wall tents. So that's not all true, which is why I said all other factors considered equal. But that's just to keep people from arguing too much. Yeah, anyway, it's very easy to set up. Easier than I thought, to be honest. I love knots and rope and all those things, so I'm not too intimidated by those kinds of things. But even if you are, I mean, really, if you can't put a stake in the ground and then pull this to the tautness that you want, you know, you probably shouldn't be out in the backcountry anyway. My point actually is that I'm sure you can. You'll be fine. And then there's a few other guy out points that you can use for really windy, turbulent weather. But yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick overview. I don't know how interesting this kind of stuff is to people. My channel right now is still kind of an experiment for what people are interested in me talking about. And some people might think I'm an expert in one area and not the other and not tune in, and that's fine. So just kind of experimenting, but this is the Gossamer 2-person tent. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it. I found a discount code. I think something like $250 or $280, something like that. But again, I'd been running a 6 or 17-year-old $50 REI 2-man tent, which weighed almost 6 pounds and had a couple holes in it and was letting rain in. So it was time for me and my wife to upgrade for an upcoming trip. And I hope that's helpful for you. If not, I would suggest checking out some information from Andrew Skirka. He's my favorite backpacker. You can go to his website. He's only got a couple YouTube channels, but his website is excellent. I've learned a ton from him. So andrewskirka.com. Give this a thumbs down. Go check out his website. Have a great day, guys.